Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Ridge Community Church podcast. My name is John. I'm one of the pastors at the Ridge, and our vision is to bring the hope of Jesus into every home. So we want to bring you something hopeful and helpful for your everyday life, whether you've been following Jesus for a while or you're still trying to figure out exactly what you do believe about God. Now, you'll find on this podcast things that'll help with conversations about marriage and parenting and mental health and work, practical things to help you in your faith journey, and a lot more. So whether you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app or you're watching on YouTube, be sure to follow and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the hopeful and helpful conversations. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ridge Podcast. I'm excited to share a conversation that I got to have with some of the leaders in Nia Imani Family. Nia Imani is all about providing safe housing and life skills for young women and their kids who faced homelessness or trauma, and they're giving these families the stability and tools to rebuild their lives. Nia Imani Family is one of the organizations that we're partnering with during Live Big, and I got to be joined by 3 individuals on their team: the founder, Dr. Belinda Pittman, along with Cynthia, Chirinda, and Shannon, Lopez. And they bring a lot of insight into the amazing things that Nia Imani Family is doing, the amazing skills and transitions that are being able to be provided for these young women. And it's just a really great conversation. And so I just want to encourage you to just listen and hear what they're doing and open your mind to maybe a perspective shift that could happen in your own life as a part of it. So this is my conversation with the leaders of Nia Imani Family. Hello. Thank you so much for coming on to the Ridge Podcast.
Thank you for having us, John.
Yeah, it's an honor for me. I was reading up about Nia Imani Family, and I love the work that you're doing. And we'll get into that. But first, maybe each of you could share just a short little introduction and what you do with Nia Imani Family.
Hi, I'm Belinda Pittman. I am the founder and CEO of Nia Imani. My general responsibility is to overall to check and work with the operation of the organization. That is, work with staff, programming, but my mainly love is working with the mothers and the children in the program. All the other desk work, I think everybody kind of understand how that goes, but the love of it is working with the families to help them to work on change and improve their lives for the better.
Awesome.
Hello, my name is Shannon Lopez. I am the board president at Nia Imani Family, and I serve in a volunteer capacity alongside the organization. My main, goal and focus is to try to do what I can to help provide support to the organization, kind of help lift them up for the work they're doing so that they can achieve it further and sometimes faster.
Yeah.
Maybe otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Thanks, Shannon. Thank you for having us, John. My name is Cynthia Chirinda, and I currently serve as the executive coordinator here at Nia Imani Family. And my role involves supporting our programs, creating partnerships, working closely with our staff. We have an amazing team who serve here at Nia Imani Family. We also work with our volunteers and the community members just to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the families that we serve. So here at Nia Imani Family, we focus on providing not just transitional housing, it's life skills training, it's a supportive community for young mothers, children, and their families. So just coordinating all of that is really an exciting job to wake up to do every day. So I don't call it a job. It's an amazing calling.
Yeah, each of you seem just so passionate, and one, that's amazing. I'm sure that really fuels a lot of the heart behind Nia Imani Family. But Dr. Pittman, would you mind sharing maybe a little bit about how everything got started and why what you do at Nia Imani Family is so important?
Yes. Nia Imani established Nia Imani to provide a safe place for mothers to live. We started in 1994 to empower and have an empowering space for mothers to grow because they had significant challenges that they were facing in their lives. Many of the mothers that started out working with them, most of them came out of the shelter and through social service because they had lost their children to the system. And so we wanted to give them a space that they can learn how to live independently, go back to school, get job skills, and regain custody of their children so that they can become productive citizens in society again. That's how we saw this need, and this is how Nia Imani got started. So we have several different types of life skills programs that we provide moms with. But I also felt that without a stable place to live, just being in a shelter short term, 30, 60 to 90 days, did not give mothers enough time to start to work on rebuilding their lives and rebuilding the relationships back with their children that they needed to be able to go forward. So that's basically the foundation that Nia Imani worked from to get started.
Yeah, and I love it. It's not just being a safe place obviously is so important, and having that time and that space, but then it's so much beyond that too, with all the life skills training and the relationship development. Would you maybe share, would you mind sharing just a little bit about why those life skills and that development is so helpful and important?
Yes,
Yeah.
but was that Miss Cynthia? Miss Cynthia, go ahead.
You can go right ahead.
You were getting, no. You go right ahead. This would be good.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. Just the work that Dr. Pittman has done in the last 30 years and what I've had to witness in the last couple of years that I've worked here, just seeing how generational cycles of poverty and trauma and homelessness can really strip off what is usually expected to be just basic life skills. So in a typical household, you would expect, oh, okay, I'm sure they would know how to do their chores. They would know how to do the bed. They would know how to do their grocery shopping. But we are working with those generational traumas and cycles and patterns that we are actually saying, okay, let's start at the very basics. What is a budget? Do you have a budget? Do you have any literacy at all in terms of what finance is? And do you even have a concept of what financial management is? So I am just so blessed to have come onto the great work that has been founded over the years, curriculum that has been built and developed through the research that Dr. Pittman has done. And this is not just theoretical book work that's in the organization, but this is what she has studied and seen in the participants that have come through, and what we are continually going on to do together with the team and the staff here is to make sure that we are adapting, as generations change. I'm sure she mentioned when she started, even the demographics that they were working with were a little bit different. And now you're looking at the Gen Z, then you're moving from Gen Z and all these new generations. So all sorts of life skills training going there. But Dr. Pittman can actually speak in a little bit more because she has seen it all. Trust me, she has seen it all.
Right. The first thing we try to address is emotional needs and their spiritual needs with family, because that's very difficult because the majority of them has come from traumatic experiences in their background. So a lot of them is dealing with trauma. So to be able to deal and understand with those issues and things that happen to them very early on in their lives helps them to be able to move forward as they progress into the program. I don't think that there's any other program that's similar to Nia Imani, because Nia Imani is very hands-on with the mothers. I mean, we literally is right there in the trench with the mothers, assisting them in doing and guiding them through the hard work that they have to do, because hard work for change and to make a strong social impact so that it's not a Band-Aid, and we want it to be generational, which is long-term, mother and children. So as long as that we can focus on that and help them to navigate through the issues in their lives and trauma and basic education, we see many mothers blossom and their children as well to be great citizens.
How important is that? It's like relationship and trust building element with that, because I imagine that's got to be so key. Is that to that? I don't know if it's earning that trust or it's building that relationship so that they trust the things that you're trying to teach them.
Yes. Why don't you, Miss Cynthia? Because you came in as a person, you can really share what that was like with your experience and them being willing to work with you.
Absolutely, because I would say trust is actually our secret sauce. That's our secret ingredient, and that's the key pillar behind the work that we do. Because the population of our program participants, we are working with individuals who have had their trust broken at the core from a very young age. And so for them to trust any individual at all, it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of wisdom and discernment. And I keep on saying that I'm blessed because at least I was getting mentored in the process, because what may work in a particular context, when you come and you're working in this environment, especially with people who are contending with whether it's substance use disorders or just the trauma cycles, you are trying to break through and break cycles where relationships are not something that is a constant, reliable element in their lives. So coming along as staff member or a team member to say, hey, let's work on this together. Before you can work on before you can talk about the task, you need to start looking at building a relationship. So I must say that I got to learn it practically from the time that I joined the organization, because sometimes you come in and you've got your skills and you've worked in different environments, and you then realize that there are certain areas that you need to not just adapt, but go extra mile to be able to provide a proper trauma-informed kind of care, being able to understand where the trust was broken and be able to pick up things from the root. So the uniqueness of the work that we do, like Dr. Pittman has said, is a root work. It's not just building from the root, but sometimes it's having to uproot certain things that you are dealing with, which are systemic. Not only systemic from their lives and generational patterns, but systemic even within the society where we live, and trying to break through some of those systemic barriers. So I would say, from what I have learned serving in this work, it's the humanity. How do I, as a human being, connect with another human being who has been dealt a blow with life, so many curveballs, brokenness? How do I connect myself with that individual and be able to show them hope and be able to get them to trust me? Because you can't just say, trust me. That doesn't work. They have to see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a journey indeed.
I imagine. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are there, I mean, you've been kind of touched on it briefly, but maybe each of you would mind sharing a story of a mother or a family that has really gone through Nia Imani Family, and maybe share some of the life change that has come from it.
Yeah, there's a story that I can share. The mother that came into the program, I would say she's made a really impact. She had 3 children when she came into the program. She actually was from out of state. She lived in Illinois, and she had some family here in Milwaukee. So she decided things didn't work out well for her where she was living. So she decided to come with some family here in Milwaukee. Well, when she got here, that just totally fell apart. So she ended up in a homeless situation with her and her children. She didn't have income coming in at the time, and no place to go. She went to a shelter here, and that's when she contacted Nia Imani. She actually stayed in the program 2.5 years before she transitioned, because our program is a 2-year program, but she stayed in the program for 2.5 years. Once she transitioned out of the program, she decided to go back home and to work on the relationship with her youngest sister and with her mother. the relationship with the family, they really had just all went their own separate ways. And her mother was dealing with the history of addiction. So there was no relationship between the two. But that's one of the things that she worked on when she was here. How and what can I do to try to now have a relationship with my mother that I've always wanted, but had never had, because her and her siblings were removed from her mother's care and they was placed in the system. She was placed in a group home, but ended up around 16 of running away from the group home. Here in Nia Imani, she went back and got her GED. Once she got her GED, then Nia Imani created a position for participants that was in the program to try to work with them and to give them skills, to get them into the idea of going out and volunteering. Because when you have people who's lived in a world of survival, well, going volunteering is not in their vocabulary. Okay. As I can't do anything for free. I need to earn a living for myself. So how can I do that? So this is what this concept was that Nia Imani was creating. So she started out as a volunteer at Nia Imani. And then I created a role we call peer resident assistant. And this is an individual that is a peer to the other mothers that's in the program. Here's someone that other mothers can go to if they need something that they can't relate to a staff person because they're shy. They don't want to feel like they're begging. So they can communicate better with a peer because they see this person that's sort of in the same situation that we're in, but she also has a relationship with staff in this way. And that's a way for them to feel comfortable. That's what she learned to do in the program. And so that was the time that I came up and started calling her a life coach with her peers because she was doing that as this peer resident assistant. So I'm going to read something that this young lady sent to me, and this is why she sent to me, and I'll tell you how she ended up. I'm going to read it. She says, "Thank you for all that you have done for me and my family. Thank you for helping me when I gave up on myself and didn't see a way. You are awesome, and you truly deserve the world." She is now a assistant commission for homelessness in Peoria, Illinois.
Wow.
She's doing very, very well. She's working with homeless people and she's assistant. She actually is assistant commission in Peoria, Illinois. So that's how one of our mothers has turned out.
That's incredible. So then it's not just the cycle broken for her, but
yes.
it's continued. Now it's just having a magnified effect on whole communities.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
That's right. Yep. And so some of the things that she wanted to do. So yes. And then another one is a young girl was in the program. Her and her mother was in the program. Oh, I think I just gave the letter. I can't read it. They're working on some projects, but Miss Cynthia is familiar with that one. With the young lady, she was 8 years old and she wrote a letter. Do you remember what that letter was consisted of, Miss Cynthia?
Yes, I remember that.
Share that.
And, for me, I think one of the most stunning things is there was a time when we were receiving donations for Christmas for our mothers. And I remember that day, Dr. Pittman wasn't in the office. And so we had a lady, she came through and she had her children and she had these beautiful Christmas hampers for the families. So I said, "Oh, okay, that's really kind of you. How did you get to hear about us?" And she said, "Well, I actually passed through these hallways." So I sent a picture to her and I said, "Oh, Dr. Pittman, you missed this person. They'd hope they'll surprise you today because she wasn't in the office today." And she said, "Well, I'll need to tell you a whole story when I come back in the office and I'm going to show you the pictures." And I think for me, what touched me the most, John, is the fact that she wasn't actually the first generation that had stayed here, but her grandmother as well had stayed in the program. And then she had stayed in the program. But there she was now. She was running a successful business. I think she has a daycare center.
Yeah. Yes.
She has a daycare center, a very vibrant one. And she came with her children. And, just being able to see someone who once upon a time walked through the same doorways, always receiving these donations, being the one to say, "You know what, I believe in this place and I'm going to sow back." So we do get to see them coming in and out a lot just to see Dr. Pittman, and sometimes just for them to come and show her and say, "Hey, You know what? I know I gave you a hard time when I was here, but trust me, all those tears were worth it. Oh, yes, trust me. There are lots of tears here, sometimes tears of pain, and then sometimes tears of joy. And it's always so encouraging, John, to be able to have our program participants come back as an alumni and be able to say, hey, this is what the Lord has done, and this is what through this program I can now live independently. This is what through this program I can actually have an identity which I thought had been stripped away from me. So yes, there's so many stories we can share with you.
Right. And Shannon can share that from a different perspective. Before she became board president, Shannon would work every year at Christmas time with the participants. That was my relief. The one main relief that I knew I could get once a year, that was at Christmas time, because she would come in and she would work with the group. I would just give the women to her and say, go, you guys set it up. So she can, I think that she could just share from her perspective from just having the opportunity to be able to engage with the group of the women and the children during the holidays.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. I'm just beaming over here, just listening to the, goodness that you guys are sharing, which I know happens, but I never tire of hearing from it. So yeah, I'll just share my origin story. I mean, I learned of Nia Imani through my children's school. I had an opportunity to hear what they were doing down there, and independence for a woman, financial independence, was something that was important to me pretty much my entire life, but it did start at a young age. Just seeing things in my own family that was important to me. And so when I learned of Nia Imani helping single women learn how to take care of their own household and not have to be reliant on somebody else's income or another individual, although it's wonderful to be a part of a community and be able to rely on other people at times, knowing that you can take care of yourself, that just really kind of rang through to my heart from things that I witnessed in my own life. And so I wanted to learn more, and I came down and toured Nia Imani, and that was kind of my first experience with it. And then I was like, well, what can I do? And as we were talking it was actually with my church group at the time, we wondered if there was something we could do at over the holidays. And so I had contacted Dr. Pittman, and I just said, I was just envisioning something like we do to celebrate the holidays. Could we celebrate that? Could we kind of cross the bridge, so to speak, and provide some type of experience and celebrate that together? Where I think about my holiday, where I get together with, family and friends, and we share a meal, and maybe we watch a movie or listen to some holiday music, and there's some presents. And could we do something like that? And so that's really kind of how it started. It started about 10 years ago, and we came down and we had Santa came and some presents were there, and we sang some carols. And, that's really where I started seeing transformation in my heart, my life, and my family. And my children would come with me, and the other women who were involved, or other families, they would come as well. And it's really neat because right now my children, they range from 18 down to 10. That is part of their Christmas tradition now. We've been doing that for over 10 years. And so when COVID happened and we couldn't do that same type of experience, it was so interesting because, you think your children are like, oh, gifts, and what am I going to get for Christmas, and this sort of a thing. But when I had to tell them that we weren't going to be able to do the holiday experience together with Nia Imani like we did in the past, they were just like, that was like missing Christmas to them. And I thought, wow, like, holy cow, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to Nia Imani and I'm going to serve. But it really has served my life and my family so much, being able to, just realize truly that we are all connected, right? We are all connected in this city, in this community. And I guess that's kind of what just keeps me wanting to do what I can. I understand I cannot necessarily do, what Dr. Pittman does or what Cynthia does, but do what I can to help lift them up to do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you go to Christmas with somebody. The next thing you know, you're on the
Yeah.
board. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys have all talked about just some of the life skills that these women are able to develop through Nia Imani. Would you share maybe what specific life skills that you all focus on and how it really impacts women long term?
But Cynthia, you want to talk about some about life skills? I mean, I'm going to name some, and you, as serving as a facilitator, I have done this my entire 30 years. So
Sure.
we
So,
service and do things according to the needs of the moms, and forming focus groups and finding out some of the things that they need help with. So some of those skills is financial literacy, to making sure that they know how to budget. Emotional, there's trauma informed care, where they talk about the things that has happened to them in their past and how they had been hurt. We do sexuality groups for the mothers, parenting skills. In our new program that we're working with our moms is co-parenting. So now, Ms. Cynthia, you can take it from there and share some of the other groups.
absolutely, yes. And, those skills that are usually just taken for granted, we have found that whenever we do our pre and post surveys during our sessions, we actually have a format of circles. So we tend to use circle gatherings, and we find that creating that sacred space, John, has a way of allowing people to not only get skills and acquire skills, but to also heal in the process. So the solution-focused thinking and solution-focused learning process that we engage here at Nia Imani Family is something that we have found that it's very enriching, because most of it is driven from a very Afrocentric approach, which is some of the things that makes Nia Imani quite unique. As you know, Nia Imani is a derivative from a Swahili African name, which is faith and purpose. So when we're looking at faith and purpose and we're looking at skills, we're looking at the whole person. And when we're looking at co-parenting, we're saying, yes, you may be here, you are a young mother, maybe the young father could be in incarceration, or maybe it was a case of domestic violence, or maybe he's out, but maybe he's just not supporting. So we're saying, how do we create that space within this organization, within our community center, to be able to have you as the mother not only having a decent conversation with the father of this child, but how do we come alongside you to teach you co-parenting skills, and how do we keep you accountable? So we do not only impart skills, but we also create the space for these conversations to take place. And we use a lot of different tools just to help them. Sometimes it's worksheets that they will go through, and they'll go through one-on-one sessions. And as they're working on those sessions, we have actually found that some of the relationships that had really gone bad, where maybe because there was a restraining order, we are actually now finding that that is giving us scope to even serve the fathers. So through the co-parenting program, one of the things that Dr. Pittman also then found out is that the fathers are not being served. So when we look at the whole family, which is what Nia Imani Family looks at, we're saying, how do these life skills address both the immediate needs and the long-term success, whether it's financial literacy or parenting support or conflict resolution, whether it's health and wellness education, whether it's job readiness training. How do the special ingredients in there foster independence and self-confidence? I think for us, that's the question that we're always asking when we do our evaluations. Our team of life navigators are constantly working on daily goals. Well, rather it's monthly goals, and then they're broken down to weekly goals, and then those are broken down to daily goals. And then we've got a 30, 60, 90-day kind of parameter that we look at in terms of goal setting. And we're constantly measuring, and we're constantly having these conversations. So developing skills, especially in a place where we're working with individuals where they did not get some of these rudimentary teachings from the onset within the family setup, we are then creating that family and community environment where there is no embarrassment, there's no shame to say, hey, I actually don't know how to cook. So we go as basic as, great, what do you have in the fridge? Let's go into the unit, because they are coming into this transitional living space where the apartments and units are fully furnished. And we are making sure that they're developing a system where they can go out and do their groceries, and we can look at the budget and say, okay, how much do you have coming in this month? Of that, how much are you allocating to your groceries? How much are you allocating to such and such? So we're working with them daily on that, so that by the time that they live here, they should be able to know, hey, before anything else, I need to make sure that I've taken care of my rentals. I've taken care of my utility bills. Otherwise, the gas is going to be shut down. They're going to cut the electricity. And you know what happens to me and the children. So we are really equipping them with practical tools. We're preparing them not only to survive, John, but we want them to thrive. We really want them to thrive long after they leave our program. So these are some of the skills that we are daily equipping our program participants with.
You know, it's so interesting as you're sharing. I'm just thinking of everybody comes into different situations with their own perspective, and just even talking about the life skills thing, it makes me think of like, well, advantages in life come in many different forms, and some of those advantages are just the what some things that you feel are simple things that maybe you learned from a parent or a grandparent or a close friend, and we take it for granted as if everybody, oh, doesn't everybody have that experience? And if they didn't have that exact experience,
Right.
then who are we to assume that they should? You know, it's like, well, then how do you step in the gap and help that? So um, I think there's a huge important perspective shift that I
Yeah.
think happens when you view, I think, life and people's situations through a different lens.
Yeah.
Um, which
That's
maybe
true.
I didn't send out this question, so surprise. But maybe Shannon, you can start with this one because you touched on this and what you were sharing. But how has your time with Nia Imani and serving in whatever capacity, how has that changed your own perspective?
Well, I have come so far. I'm going to just tell you, I'm just going to start with my first experience kind of in a hands-on serving capacity. It was prior to Nia Imani. But I knew my heart was calling me to do more. And I'll just share this as well, that our household, my husband is a Milwaukee police officer. So I do hear different things that happen in the city, which are kind of very, very further down the line of problems not attended to. Very further down the line, you get this result over here. And I did get to hear the chief of police speak one time about community police and saying, like, these things that we can do over here is a community, policing. Otherwise we end up with this over here. I'm just sharing that because I hear of things, just sadness, and you think to yourself, like, what can be done? And being in a state of despair, like, well, what can be done? That's not where we want to live. We want to say, like, what can be done? But the challenge is, it's so big. And so for me as an individual, I realized that I wasn't equipped to even know how to, go to another part of town and serve and talk to another person and just be really just feel normal in my own skin to be able to do that, because I come from such a different background in the suburbs. And sure, my parents were divorced, but they were there and they were in my life, and so many things were provided for me. All those things that you say, like, we take for granted, or I took for granted. My perspective has shifted so incredibly much, to understand that, all of these things, like even as a mom, my son off to college for his first year at 18 years old, he didn't get the confidence and the skills to leave the house and go and do that just by living 18 years. He got it as a function of being part of the network that he was involved with in my home and the community that we were a part of. Right. And so to compress that 18 years and say, like, if I had to compress that 18 years into 24 months, I mean, that's a heavy lift. Right. And so for me to realize, like, okay, I come from a completely different understanding and perspective, but I do have a heart that cares and wants to come alongside. Like, how do I do that? And it's relational. It starts by just saying like, hey, can I take a tour? What are you doing? Maybe in the beginning with me, maybe it was a donation. Maybe our family made a blanket or dropped some coats off or something like that, right? And then I want to learn a little bit more. And then it becomes more of a relationship and more the stories that are shared. It becomes more real. It's a real human being in person over here, just 10 miles away that doesn't have these things. And then, your heart's kind of overflowing, like, well, I have this abundance and I want to help, but you can't just do it for them, right? You have to learn how to, and I'm thankful that, sometimes I'm sure I've said things that, in retrospect, maybe I've grown a lot. Maybe I wouldn't talk the same way right now that I did 10 years ago, but it was a safe space for me too, as a volunteer and a caring community member, to learn how to be able to do that. So I have come a long way in that regard, and I still have a ways to go, but that's okay. We don't have to be perfect. We could just have a heart that cares and just try to do what we can to come alongside and say, I don't know, that person, but they are a member of this community. And gosh, it makes me feel good to know that if that were me, right, that there is a community out here that cares and could have helped me.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're listening right now and they hear the incredible things that Nia Imani Family is doing, how can they be a part? How can they help? How can they contribute to what you all are doing?
There's so many opportunities. Thanks for asking that, John. There's so many opportunities to just come alongside the vision that we are looking at and the mission that we're going about. They can come through as volunteers. There's just so many areas that we need support, family, friends. I mean, it's one thing sometimes to assume that, oh, okay, if a mother has to go to work, she definitely has childcare, or if that childcare closes or if it's not available that day, she has somewhere to take that child. That's not always the case. They don't always have that support system. So being able to come alongside and say, hey, you know what, I'm willing to come along and just be a family friend. And being a family friend is a lot of things. It could mean that you're taking a mom on an errand. It could mean that you're just saying, hey, I'm just going to be minding your child whilst you're out, or I'm going to just run some errands. There's so many ways that they can volunteer as a family friend. Sometimes we even need them to just, take a family on an outing, because some of them have not experienced what is easily taken for granted as an outing. It's a completely new world. Just sometimes even transportation for appointments or events, because sometimes the places where they need to go are far off and they may not have, we do make sure that at any given time they either have a bus pass or something to help them with their logistics, but it always makes it so much smoother if there's someone there available. Someone may say, I want to come alongside and maybe facilitate a group or maybe a circle gathering, or, hey, you know what, I've got some sewing machines, or I've got a sewing skill, and I really want to help a mom to just maybe be able to understand basics of mending. How do I mend my dress without having to just toss it away simply because it's torn. Sometimes we have donations that come through. Sometimes we just need assistance with sorting those. It could be with painting. Someone may say, wow, I just want to adopt a room. I just want to paint this place, or I want to come through to your family center, which is our community space. And, maybe I want to just make sure that it's more comfortable, whether I want to put in more, it could be a refrigerator or anything that would just make them more comfortable to be able to do what they need to do. There is an outdoor space, and especially during the summer times, we encourage them to take the children out. Someone may say, hey, I want to do some landscaping, or, oh, okay, I want to donate these things for the playground. There's always just so much to do. And one of the things that Dr. Pittman might have hinted earlier on is our retail space, which is through our Ujama. Ujama is our cooperative economics, and it comes with a job readiness program. So someone might say, wow, I want to come alongside and maybe just help to set up that store. Or maybe I just want to come in and be able to train a mom, to prepare for job readiness. There are always so many opportunities that, people out there can come alongside and help with. Dr. Pittman, I know that's not exhaustive. Maybe there are other things you may want to just chime in and add.
Yeah, I would like to mention, yes, one is our Ujama, and that is our retail resale shop, where mothers get the opportunity to learn skills, and it's valuable to the community. The community utilized the shop as well, because a lot of the mothers' families that's in our neighborhoods are extremely low income. Another area is going to be called Sankufa. Sankufa is going to be space for the children and for mothers. So if there's someone out there who may have had dancing or background in music or background in art, any of those kinds of activities, and willing to volunteer to share their skills, we would love to have them to be a part and to come to us. Also, we're open for offerings. Someone may have a skill, they may want to do something. It may not be on our list of volunteers. Please do not hesitate to check with us and to see. There would be conversations between mothers and fathers because of a lack of understanding. Maybe there's someone that's some skills in communication that they would love to come down and to be a part of helping them to understand each other and what really is a family. To have other people that are in families to share with those who don't have a family right now, but trying to recreate their family.
I'd also just like to share, and I think it's my fiscal responsibility as the board president to share that we do also have financial needs. We are both a program and a building or a space, right? The building that we currently serve this all out of is approaching or over 100 years old. So we do have constant repair needs of the building to make sure that we have a safe space. That could, be in a volunteer capacity as well. If somebody has some trade skills that they'd like, we're always in need of, mechanicals and all of that sort of thing. And also, we mentioned a little bit earlier that, with the mothers being connected to the fathers and, the children that come through the program, some of them also being boys, we are embarking on, the young men's leadership program. And so serving in a capacity for young men is right on the forefront as well.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. And on our website, John, there is that facility where people can actually visit and they can actually click on and volunteer. There is a form there where either they're coming in as an individual or as a group. They can also just share and say, hey, I know you haven't listed this, like what Dr. Pittman said, this may not be on your side, but I feel that this is a unique skill that I can actually bring on board. Sometimes we just have participants who want someone to just talk to. We do have a team of navigators. That's what we are all here for as staff members. That's our primary reason for being here. However, someone might just say, hey, I just want to come and maybe just spend time with the young children. So we have what we call our muhindi, which refers to the corn. So that's the term that we use for our children. And our children are coming in all sorts of I don't want to call them spectrums, but we are looking at these generational cycles of trauma, of poverty, homelessness. That comes with behavioral and mental challenges and all sorts of behavioral disorders. And they want to be sometimes just in a place where they are reassured. They want to be in a place where they can just engage. So that's where we have our Muhindi program. So someone may just say, well, I just want to come when the moms are in group and they're having their sessions, either their circle gatherings, and I just want to come alongside and make sure that they're not having to worry about the children. So that's where, again, we have some of those opportunities to serve. So we can never say we've got enough help. There's always room for one more.
That's definitely my takeaway is that if you have a desire to serve, there's going to be an opportunity for you, and whether it's coming with giftings and passions that you have, or even just the ability to create space and assistance for these moms. But thank you all so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing, and for letting us as a church partner with what you're doing. So thank you so much.
It's been
Thank
great
you for
being here,
having us.
John. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, that was my conversation with Nia Imani Family, and there's so many impactful things. My encouragement to you is twofold, really, with Live Big. And one of them is, if this has really touched your heart, is something that you feel like connected with, that God is placing in your heart to really activate on, serve with them. We'll add a link in the show notes here of how you can get involved and be a part. But part of Live Big really is all about serving in our community and serving those who need it. And so this is an opportunity to serve with the Imani family and help them if that's where God is calling you. The second thing really is give. And as part of Live Big, we give away all of the money that is given to Live Big, and part of that goes to funding the wish list items for Nia Imani, which is all about adding those life skills. And so I'd encourage you to give, and you can do that in our link in the show notes, or just go to theridgecc.com/livebig. But my encouragement is, hopefully this touched your heart and has inspired you to really participate and Live Big, and in a slightly different note as well, just a little bit of a perspective shift, hopefully. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ridge Podcast, and make sure to like and subscribe and follow so you don't miss any of the hopeful and helpful conversations.